keep in mind when you start getting, so like level one, I don't think you're really changing much about what you do in a day-to-day basis, right? Your organization is going to function pretty much the same way. And hopefully you have a lot of these controls in place already. When you get to level two, you have to start changing culture a little bit, because it might be that a lot of these things that you now have to do for level two are going against maybe some process procedure or lack thereof process and procedure. And it's no more like I can do whatever I want and I can put data wherever I need to, and I don't need to have anything encrypted. Like there's a lot of things that take place in that process, and it might be a cultural shift in your organization. And so, Andrew and I talk about, we can put in technical controls all day long, but the cultural shift, the mentality shift that sometimes has to take place is sometimes a much larger issue than us, actually putting the controls in place. And Drew, maybe you can speak to some of that.
Yeah, I would say the change in culture is probably the biggest hurdle that we face in IT at any level, not just for CMMC. So people don't like changing their process. A lot of businesses, so if you're like, to give you an example, if you're on CMMC 1, you should just be like, you should have those controls in place just to protect yourself. But it doesn't, like Grant said, it doesn't really impact you. CMMC 2 is where now you're starting to see some impact, right? People have to change their habits, and habits are really hard to change. CMMC 3, level 3 is where that dictates how business is done, right? Like that's a fundamental shift. So now all the business in your organization is looked at through the lens of how will it impact CMMC 3, level 3, because you can't put data anywhere, right? So now you have to think about it. Okay, we have to have a design structure so we can keep the data somewhere. That has to be put in place ahead of time. Well, like who wants to think ahead, right? You want to just deal with it when it's coming at you. So you go from this really flexible, like very, very flexible and efficient phase of your organization where you're like just doing whatever you need to do as it comes up, to going to the point where it's a very rigid, structured phase of your business. And there's a lot of overhead to maintain that level of security. So there's a lot of cost. There's a lot of human capital. It takes time to do that. There's a lot of frustration that comes with people who are used to being really flexible. So, I mean, if you were to do the psychology, it would be very hard to go from a like traditional small business where you have a ton of flexibility to a CMMC 3 or CMMC level 3 business and keep your same staff, because it's just not the same psychological profile of person. The small business, you have a bunch of gunslingers and they're just doing what they want. It's Wild West. And CMMC level 3 is like it's a black and white world. You follow the process. You have to have people that are very comfortable in that realm, and they're vastly different. So as you grow through that like psychological spectrum, you have a lot of friction that gets generated. Staff's like psychological, like neuroplasticity, right? Their ability to absorb new things gets stretched. Sometimes that snaps and they move on, and you hire people in that better fit that role. So it's a tremendous like psychological strain on your staff.